President Trump has spent 100 days in office, and now we are joined by grassroots conservatives, Tina Avalos, Gina O'Brien, and Sanjay Narayan. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. And so 100
Thank you
days,
for having us.
you bet. And so 100 days in, I'm wondering, what do you think are the president's biggest successes? And what would you like to see the president focus on more? Tina, let's start with you.
Great. I think the number one thing that's so important to me and so important to Americans across the country that we don't really hear spoken about by the media is the level of transparency that we have with this presidency compared to the former presidency. And so I love what we're seeing with the signs on the White House lawn, with numbers and facts being revealed by Doge. So I'm really excited about the transparency in this presidency and what I have been terming Trump speed, the amount of things that Trump is getting done in this presidency in just this first 100 days.
And before we get to Gina, just as far as the photos on the White House lawn, you're referring to the photos with regards to those people who are being deported.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just, 100 days in, what do you think are the president's biggest successes, and what would you like to see the president focus more on?
Well, I think that he's definitely a man of action. I think the biggest thing would be the border, that it's about 99% secured, and that's something that previous presidents said that couldn't be done, or they run on it, but then it doesn't happen. And for it to happen this fast is really something to take note of.
And go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many things actually. I think that a lot of people couldn't keep up with his energy. He's working on so many things all at once. I feel like gas prices have gone down, employment's gone down, mortgage rates have gone down. It's only 100 days. So I'm really excited for the next 100 days to see what will happen. I think the tariffs, I'm okay with that because I feel like it's a bargaining chip. The United States has always, they have, taken a back seat to that. We're the ones that pay the high rates, and then other countries don't. And so really think he's using it as a bargaining chip to make better deals for our country. And I believe there's already 75 countries that want to talk to him and make better deals.
All right, and Sanjay.
Yeah, I agree that the biggest success story in my mind is the border. Just shows really what one administration can do. We were told for years that the open southern border and northern border were porous because we needed to pass new legislation. We had to allow for more baseless amnesty claims, and we had to welcome in the entire world without vetting or any legal process of following the rule of law. And all of that was laid bare to be just a total lie. Once you have someone who actually believes in enforcing the laws of this country and actually having a strong border, the trickle of people coming into the country illegally has basically ground to a halt, which means that now we're actually enforcing the laws that are on the books. And the next step is to actually start deporting the people here who came here illegally, who have overstayed their visas, who have baseless asylum claims, to actually reimpose a system of law and order in this country. So that's been a huge success. Another area that has really been something that's important, is going to have long lasting effect, is President Trump's executive orders and changes on diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, which is really another form of reverse racism or an equity based agenda of really reaching out an equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity. He's eliminated the use of disparate impact tests in employment and contracting and vending requirements, and setting that example from the top down will have a real impact on reimposing a culture of meritocracy and a culture of excellence in the country. And that cannot be understated, the level of impact that will have moving forward. So those have been huge accomplishments.
And let me ask you, because the president came into office with approval ratings, I believe, at like 53%. Now, in large part because of his tariffs policy, they have fallen. And we've seen anywhere from 42 to 44, 45, 46, 47%. And so I'm wondering, what do you make of the tariffs? I know, Gina, you touched on it a little bit, and you said that you feel like he's using it as leverage.
Yes.
At what point do you think, though, that, you know, there needs to be a decision? Because there's some voices in the administration that are all for this long-term policy of high tariffs. And then there are others who disagree with that and say, no, this should be used as leverage only, try to get deals done, and then let's see where we're at. Where do you fall?
I believe that President Trump, he wrote The Art of the Deal, and that it's more of a bargaining chip to work with other countries to make things more fair, because he's got to do something to lower the national debt. And he knows that, and that's one way of, of doing that. And I think that maybe some of the American people maybe they don't have an exact idea of what he's talking about, but that he will be effective, because if 75 countries are already willing to meet with him and negotiate, and I know Japan and China once it starts, I think that it will be fair. I think that he's very fair. And I think that tariffs have been used in the past. He did it the last time he was president. He put high tariffs on China, and our inflation was only 1%. So I believe it is an effective measure.
And Sanjay, let me ask you that. Plus, what is your concern about, there are already warnings from economists saying this is going to slow the economy down. This is going to have some businesses who are going to have to reevaluate how they move forward. And so talk to me a little bit about your concerns on this.
I think that President Trump is right to highlight the point of the tariffs is really elevated in international conversation, something that really had not been previously discussed, which is the level of tariff as well as non-tariff barriers that a lot of other countries have placed on American goods and producers, and the level of disadvantage that our technologically advanced producers and employers, the unfair and imbalanced trading playing field that they've been playing on. And so to highlight that by use of the tariffs, I think has been an effective tool. I think I agree with Senator Cruz that this really is an opportunity for President Trump to clarify the message about what the true intent and goal of these tariffs are. Because, as you mentioned, there are kind of contradictory strains of depending on who's talking. But if President Trump uses the leverage, the economic heft that the United States has to force our trading partners, friends and foes, to level with us and have a freer, more open trade policy towards us, to eliminate the barriers that they have on us in return for reciprocity, the basic principle of reciprocity, I think he will have done a great service to the country by opening up other countries to our goods and services and enhancing America's wealth and stature in the process. I think it's important that we utilize this opportunity as real leverage to reach a grand bargain that can actually improve our standing, because for years we've had our manufacturing base decimated really at no consequence. And now this is an opportunity to highlight, to establish a level playing field using reciprocal tariffs to reach that end goal. So I'm confident that we'll reach there. It seems like we're on the right track.
And Tina.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're talking about finances and economics, and just as you look at any marriage or any community or any country, you've got a certain amount of people that are risk averse and a certain amount of people that are risk positive. And I think we're just seeing that reflected in the polls, and in the that are being taken right now, and that's being reflected in the numbers that we're seeing. Um, we did take a risk by electing President Trump. He was very clear in the campaign that tariffs were going to be on the table and going to be used. But what we knew at the time, as we were going through campaign season and right up until election day, was that Bidenomics had failed and we needed something new and different. Now, just because you know that and vote for it, and the people overwhelmingly voted to try and take this risk with President Trump on the economics and the tariffs, well, now we're into it. We're seeing it play out. And I think the people that are normally, naturally a little bit risk averse are like, well, wait a minute, I might be changing my mind. But those numbers do not reflect a 40 something in the mid to upper 40s does not reflect a loss of faith. It just shows that the American people are there are a certain amount of American people that are risk averse. And we are still behind President Trump and going forward and really tackling the debt and the financial stability of our nation that has been on a downward spiral for so many years. Something new needs to be done. Tariffs might just be the answer to really push in an era of Trumponomics that pushes us all back to where we were during Trump 1.0, during his first term.
And my last question to you is just about one of the things that are going on in Congress right now is House and Senate Republicans are focused on what's called a reconciliation bill. So the president's agenda as it relates to tax policy, extending the Trump tax cuts from his first term, also cutting spending and border security monies and energy policy. And so I'm wondering, how important is it to each of you that Republicans pass this agenda? Sanjay, we'll start with you.
Oh, it's the most important thing because for all the action that we've had in terms of the executive orders over the first 100 days, those can be undone, unfortunately, by a subsequent administration. So it is critical that Republicans who have a mandate based on the November election at which Donald Trump was at the top of the ticket, that they enact into law this agenda. And that means reinforcing and making permanent the tax cuts from 2017. It means building new wall facilities and resources for Border Patrol agents. It means cutting spending. This is the mandate that they were sent there to do. And there might be horse trading on individual provisions that, of course, is necessary. That's part of the legislative process, but it is critical and it's what they're going to be judged on. Because if they don't get this passed, we've got an 18-month window to really make conservative policy changes to get this country back on track after the damage of the last 4 years. We have to take this opportunity and get all of that passed as soon as possible so that people can see, yes, we may be placing tariffs on the one hand, but we're also cutting taxes, we're cutting regulation, we're making America a hospitable place to do business, to come here, to be an entrepreneur, to be a worker, a better place to live. All of that is part and parcel of the agenda. So it's critical that they get that passed.
Tina.
Yeah, we need the big beautiful bill. That's what we need. We need it. We need it put on paper. We need it to finally and line out all of the executive orders so that they do continue on and go through. And this is just one more. Look, we're talking about the big beautiful bill. We're talking about the tariffs. We're talking about opening up the conversation of economics worldwide. We're talking about strength through force. It's going to take a multi-pronged approach to combat the spiral that we've been in as a country. And that is what Trump is leading on. And that is what the American people voted for.
And Gina.
Well, I agree with everything that they both said. I feel that I just recently heard Mike Johnson speaking, and he's very confident that the bill will be passed, the big beautiful bill, because all the Republicans are working together, and I feel that it will be passed. I think that President Trump's agenda is moving forward. I believe that he's working harder than any president in my lifetime to make sure that our country does get back on track. So I'm not worried at all. Because he was president before, and when he was, the economy, it was one of the best economies we had. Unemployment was at its very lowest rate for so many different ethnic groups. Everybody was happy with their 401k. And I believe that that's going to happen again. It just takes time. It's, 100 days in. So I'm in the next 100 days, and that bill will surely be passed. I feel everybody will feel a little bit, maybe a little bit, breathe a little bit easier, but I'm not worried at all.
Gina O'Brien, Tina Avalos, and Sanjay Narayan. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Jack.